Sacrifice 1.2 billion people to fight a nuclear war with the US? Chinese professor denounces pro-military unification faction. Electric car catches fire in China, manufacturer's staff first removes car emblem at scene. Shenzhen's harsh move, no social security payment leads to phone number suspension. Beijing faces internal and external crises, analysts reveal secret stockpiling of supplies. US election adds variables, analysis shows whoever wins will oppose the CCP. It's all covered in today's China Truths. Sacrifice 1.2 billion people to fight a nuclear war with the US? Chinese professor denounces pro-military unification faction. On the 23rd, a clip was uploaded on Platform X showing Professor Ma Jun from the National Defense University of China on a show where he furiously condemns a Chinese major general and military unification faction scholars. He accuses them of promoting extreme nationalism and the idea of sacrificing a vast number of Chinese people to confront the US and pursue military unification with Taiwan. Ma Jun criticizes in the video, "There are some influential figures now, you should not believe what they say online. They propose sacrificing everything from Xi'an eastward for a nuclear war with the US, that's madness." The area east of Xi'an is the most densely populated in China, with nearly 1.2 billion people living there. You're suggesting using the entire 1.2 billion population as hostages in a nuclear war with the US? That is supposed to be politically correct. Does he really love his country? How can you, who have never lived as an ordinary citizen, say we can afford to lose 400 million people on the mainland to take Taiwan? That's insane. Do you understand what 400 million people mean? Every family would be in mourning. Such people are utterly unprincipled. Keep away from them, or you might be struck by lightning. So, the internet is sometimes filled with shocking statements just for the sake of shock. Don't listen to these people. I'm involved in diplomacy, but you see me on TV, you see this old face. I talk about diplomacy, and diplomacy isn't about reckless talk, there must be discipline in propaganda. Zhu Qinghu, a PLA major general and former professor at the National Defense University, and Li Yi, a scholar of the military unification faction, are the individuals Ma Jun targets. According to The Guardian, in 2005, Zhu Qinghu had stated to foreign journalists that if the US went to war with China over Taiwan, China might use nuclear weapons, and be prepared for all cities east of Xi'an to be destroyed. The US should also be ready for hundreds of its cities to be destroyed by China. Although Zhu clarified that his statements were his personal views and not representative of official CCP policy, his comments still attracted significant global attention, including from the United States. In response, the U.S. House of Representatives passed an amendment through a voice vote. This amendment demanded that Beijing immediately address and rectify the errors made by this high-ranking military officer and remove him from his position. Another figure involved is Li Yi, known as a military unification faction scholar. In 2020, he made a statement that for the CCP to unify Taiwan, the death of 1.4 billion Chinese would be seen as normal and not excessive. This comment also sparked public outrage at the time. Analysis: Ma Jun represents many who are silently opposed. Ma Jun's video criticizing CCP officials, including a major general, spread widely online, suggesting to some netizens that the Chinese authorities might be putting the brakes on nationalism. Qinyong Lin, former political consul at the Chinese consulate in Sydney, told Radio Free Asia that while Ma Jun's critiques are popular outside China, they rarely appear on Chinese social media. This lack of circulation is due to the CCP's disfavor of his rational viewpoint, which does not align with its aggressive stance towards Taiwan. Chen added that openly criticizing the CCP requires courage and represents the views of a large, silent portion of the population, but the authorities resist these dissenting voices and prevent their widespread dissemination. Taiwanese political scholar Li Yutan also told Radio Free Asia that the CCP uses propaganda and threats against Taiwan. He argued that well-informed and rational Chinese citizens should recognize that Taiwan, having embraced democracy, places a high priority on human interests. As such, the CCP does not possess the legitimate authority or moral justification to pursue military unification with Taiwan. Li further commented that the principles upheld by the CCP since its inception, characterized by democratization, freedom, and democratic systems focused on respect, maintenance, and protection of individual rights, are fundamentally at odds with those valued by the Taiwanese people. Public records indicate that Ma Jun was born in 1953 in Shenyang, Liaoning. He graduated from Northeast Normal University, the National Defense University, and Peking University, eventually returning to teach at the National Defense University. Electric car catches fire in China, manufacturer's staff first removes car emblem at scene. On July 24, according to a video circulated online, a ride-share car from Arcfox, a Chinese mark of electric passenger cars and SUVs, caught fire while it was carrying passengers. Firefighters responded to the scene and extinguished the fire, and employees from the manufacturer also arrived. In a notably unexpected action, one employee appeared to use a hammer to pry off the car's emblem, and also dismantled parts of the car's interior and covered the burning car body with a black cloth, despite not having permission from the car owner. Employees from the leasing company that owned the car tried to stop them and asked for an explanation. The manufacturer's staff only stated that they were authorized by their superiors, without providing further reasons. In later discussions, they simply stated, "We can just pay for it if it's a big deal." According to a report by Dafeng News, the leasing company that owned the car mentioned that it had purchased 10 vehicles from Arcfox in May of this year. One of these cars caught fire during a journey on the afternoon of July 24. In response to the incident, Arcfox issued an apology on their official Weibo account on July 25, stating, "In the process of managing the accident, inappropriate actions by our staff caused distress to the car owner and those who care about Arcfox. We sincerely apologize." The statement also noted that before the fire, the vehicle's battery voltage, temperature, and insulation were all normal, and that the company would publish the investigation results promptly. The vehicle involved in the fire is the Alpha S model, a mid to large size pure electric sedan launched by Arcfox in April 2021, priced between 251,900 and 344,900 yuan, nearly $48,000. Alpha S has been a key sales model for Arcfox, with the company selling 30,000 vehicles in 2023, 15,000 of which were Alpha S. However, sales of the Alpha S have decreased rapidly this year. In the first half of the year, Arcfox sold 18,000 vehicles, but sales of the Alpha S were less than 1,000. Shenzhen's harsh move, no social security payment leads to phone number suspension. Recently, a video was posted on social media by a China Mobile user in mainland China, who claimed that his mobile number, used for 14 years, was suddenly blocked without explanation. Customer service at China Mobile in Shenzhen informed him that he needed to visit a China Mobile office to unlock his number. The requirements for unlocking included his ID card, proof of residence, SIM card, and proof of recent social insurance contributions. Without these, the phone would remain locked. This incident garnered widespread attention, prompting Shenzhen Mobile to respond to media inquiries by confirming that unlocking a mobile number requires 6 months of continuous social insurance contributions. It explained that this policy was intended to verify that the phone user is employed locally. According to the independent financial commentator Financial Cold Eye, this situation highlights the dire state of China's social security funds. The authorities have resorted to drastic measures to enforce social insurance payments. Without payment, individuals are deprived of the right to use their mobile phones. The discussion around postponing retirement age was sparked by the need to address the significant deficit in the social insurance fund. Currently, this practice of blocking mobile phones to enforce social insurance payments is occurring in Shenzhen, but it is likely to expand nationwide. This is because the number of people paying into social insurance and the number of employed individuals are decreasing, while the number of retirees collecting pensions is on the rise. It was predicted that by 2035, China's social security funds would be depleted, but it now appears that the funds may run out sooner than expected. In recent years, many in China have stopped paying social insurance due to economic struggles and the belief that the health insurance system is a scam. Zhang Yan, a former grassroots healthcare worker who recently moved to the US, claims that the system artificially raises drug prices. For example, Huaxiang Jinqi water costs about 8 yuan, about $1.1 US, when bought directly, but is marked up to 19.8 yuan, about $2 US and 73 cents, in hospitals. This, Zhang says, shows how the scheme inflates prices only to falsely claim reductions through insurance, with minimal real savings. Additionally, there have been instances of misappropriation within the Chinese health insurance system by officials. Due to these factors, about 25 million people opted out of insurance in 2022 alone. Wang Zhanqi, deputy researcher at the Taiwan National Defense Security Research Institute, said that a total collapse of the social insurance system would undoubtedly lead to societal unrest, similar to the white-haired movement that erupted in March of the previous year. The CCP has acknowledged these issues. They previously issued a warning that non-payment of medical insurance could hinder one's children from passing the political review necessary for civil service examinations in the future. Currently, the situation has escalated to the point where, if individuals do not pay their medical insurance, they soon may not be able to use their mobile phones at all. Beijing faces internal and external crises. Analysts reveal secret stockpiling of supplies. The Economist reported on July 23 that the administration of Xi Jinping seems to be rapidly accumulating stocks of materials such as food, metals, and energy, despite the high prices of these commodities. This behavior suggests not only a potential to worsen inflation but also indicates that Beijing is bracing for the necessities required for a long-term conflict, particularly amid concerns that the U.S. elections could disrupt vital supply routes to China. The article details that China's economy has recently been hindered by poor management and a real estate crisis, which has led authorities to pivot away from resource-heavy industries. Nonetheless, data indicates that China's imports of major commodities last year increased by 16% and have continued to rise, with a 6% increase noted in the first 5 months of this year. Panmure Liberum, a British investment bank, estimates that depending on the commodity, the stockpiles China has built up since 2018 are enough to meet at least 35% to 133% of its annual demand. The article also highlights that the National Bureau of Statistics of China has ceased publishing inventory data for many significant commodities. However, the U.S. Department of Agriculture projects that by the end of this season, China's reserves of wheat and corn will constitute 51% and 67% of the global totals, respectively, marking a rise of 5 to 10 percentage points since 2018. Soybeans, China's most significant agricultural import, have seen their stocks double since 2018, expected to reach 42 million tons by season's end. It is noted in the analysis that although China is a major refining hub for numerous metals, it largely depends on imports for the necessary raw materials. In the energy sector, while possessing considerable coal reserves, they are insufficient to fulfill domestic needs, leading to imports of 40% of its natural gas and 70% of its crude oil. Since 2000, the need for food has shifted from primarily domestic production to requiring over a third of its food to be imported. Additionally, China appears to be preparing for deteriorating conditions. Since 2020, China's crude oil reserves increased from 1.7 billion barrels to 2 billion barrels. Concurrently, China's underground natural gas storage expanded six-fold from 2010 to 2020, reaching 15 billion cubic meters, with a target of 55 billion cubic meters by next year. Rapidan Energy Group, a U.S. research firm, estimates that since early this year, China has been augmenting its crude oil stocks by an average of 900,000 barrels per day, bringing its total close to 1.3 billion barrels, which equates to 115 days of import coverage. Furthermore, Beijing has directed oil companies to boost their inventories by 60 million tons by the end of March. J.P. Morgan, an international investment bank, forecasts that including the several liquefied natural gas storage tanks along China's coast, the total natural gas storage capacity will reach 85 billion cubic meters by 2030. As of this spring, China had stored 25 billion cubic meters of natural gas, equivalent to 23 days of consumption. This is expected to increase to 28 days by 2030, nearly double the 15 days from 5 years prior. The report quotes Gabriel Collins, a former analyst at the U.S. Department of Defense, stating that the juxtaposition of CCP's stockpiling behavior with its military buildup is particularly alarming. U.S. officials are advised to closely monitor these developments as they unfold. CCP faces domestic and international crises. Domestically, the CCP struggles with economic downturns, real estate collapse, growing local government debt, reduced consumer spending, and high unemployment, leaving CCP authorities overwhelmed and causing internal political instability due to leadership conflicts. Internationally, its promotion of communist ideologies has led to containment efforts by the US and other Western nations. Businesses throughout China are responding by laying off workers, halting operations, relocating, or extending leaves, which exacerbates problems like unemployment, unpaid wages, and insufficient compensations. These issues are likely to incite nationwide protests. Simultaneously, Western nations are speeding up their economic disengagement from the CCP. As previously reported, the CCP's third plenum concluded on July 18, followed by a report on July 21 detailing Xi Jinping's responses to these challenges. He acknowledged that external pressures and containment are escalating, and various black swan and gray rhino events that the CCP faces could occur at any time. An associate research fellow at the Institute for National Defense and Security Research, INDSR, in Taiwan, recently told the Epoch Times that she is preparing for a deteriorating international scene, viewing a possible tough stance from a re-elected Trump as the biggest gray rhino threat at present. Chinese expert Wang He noted the CCP has long used the terms black swans and gray rhinos to describe looming domestic and international threats, including financial issues and military tensions. Despite seeking to ease tensions with the U.S., the CCP's aggressive international posture ensures continued strong responses from the West, essentially creating more problems for itself. U.S. election adds variables. Analysis shows whoever wins will oppose the CCP. President Joe Biden of the United States declared that he is withdrawing from the 2024 presidential race. On the evening of July 24, President Biden delivered a national television speech. He stated that his decision to withdraw from the race was motivated by a desire to save democracy and promote national unity. He also condemned dictatorship and highlighted his administration's efforts to counterbalance the CCP. He also reiterated his support for Kamala Harris's candidacy. After Biden announced his withdrawal on July 21, Kamala Harris quickly garnered support from Democrats. By the evening of July 22, she had raised over $100 million for her campaign. Meanwhile, support ratings for Donald Trump have also shifted. A CNN poll released on July 24 indicated that Trump had 49% support, while Harris had 46%. Additionally, Reuters polls conducted on July 22 and 23 showed Harris with 44% support and Trump with 42%. Analysts believe that regardless of who becomes the President of the United States, the approach to confronting the CCP will not change. For example, Lan Shu, a political commentator based in the U.S., stated, "The U.S. policy towards China is a bipartisan consensus. Hence, no matter which party's candidate becomes the next U.S. president, their policy towards the CCP will remain unchanged." Additionally, all U.S.-China policies passed by the U.S. Congress in the last 2 years have received strong bipartisan support from both houses. In this election cycle, Trump has promised that, if elected, he will significantly raise tariffs on Chinese goods and propose a 60% tariff on all Chinese imports. J.D. Vance, Trump's vice presidential running mate, has also stated to the media that the CCP is America's biggest threat. He emphasized that a Trump administration would take a hawkish stance towards Beijing. Before Biden withdrew, he had announced an increase in tariffs on a variety of Chinese products, including a new 100% tariff on Chinese-made electric vehicles. Analysts predict that if Harris is elected, she will continue Biden's China policy. She is expected to adopt a hawkish stance towards China during her campaign to bolster her chances of victory. Jie Jin, vice chairman of the China Democratic Party Joint Headquarters, remarked, "We have observed various acts of infiltration and threats by the Chinese government to the U.S., including economic and military theft, which are very rampant. Therefore, in each election, the Chinese government becomes a common topic for both parties, as the CCP is currently the largest global threat to the U.S. regardless of whether the Republicans or Democrats win. The policy of strongly opposing the CCP and uniting countries against it is unequivocally confirmed." This anti-CCP sentiment stems from the expectations of the people, as the general populace increasingly perceives the insecurity posed by the CCP. Simultaneously, some U.S. state governments are divesting from Chinese enterprises, and some officials seeking re-election are using this divestment as a campaign achievement or policy objective. The Associated Press reports that many candidates in this year's elections view Beijing as America's top threat. Lan Shu explained that the significant shift in the U.S. and the entire Western world's perception of the CCP has been influenced by three major events. The first was the enactment of Hong Kong's national security law, which completely shattered the promise of one country, two systems and exposed the CCP's unreliability. The second was the CCP's irresponsible handling of the COVID-19 outbreak, and the third was the outbreak of the Russia-Ukraine war, which posed a direct threat to NATO and EU countries. These nations have greatly contributed to China's economic development over the past 2 decades, yet the CCP has consistently supported Russia. Lan Shu further noted that the CCP's aggressive diplomacy, global expansion, and infiltration efforts are key reasons behind the dramatic shift in American public opinion towards the CCP. Don't forget to leave a comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.